Hello. So, today's episode is going to be almost an intro. Intro. Not into the whole podcast, you've already got that. This is the School of Lifeforce. This podcast is about sharing ways to raise this energetic force in us and use it in the world. So, when I say intro, it's actually an intro into a mini series within the podcast. The leader's life force. That's what I'm calling it. I've interviewed some people that I know, some people that are my friends, some of them I've coached, and they are all leaders. They're all leaders. One of them is a CEO of a very famous company. There's another CEO. There's someone who's a leadership consultant. There's an entrepreneur. There's all sorts of people, and there'll probably be more. So this episode, I'm just going to introduce you into what does this mean? Why am I doing this? Leader's life force, what is that? Well, there is something that moves us into leading our lives. It's not a job title. I don't really care what someone does as a job. Okay, your job might say leadership this. I really care about what is driving that. If that is your job, even if that's not your job, what is driving you, us, we, to lead our lives? What is it that took me to leave my job and go and travel around South America? There was something inside me that wanted to lead myself powerfully. I was leading myself like in a dance. There needs someone to take the lead. Otherwise, the dance isn't a dance. Right? So the leader's life force is about that. Something I do. I coach people on this, on how can you lead your life? How can you own this life of yours? This is actually a lot of what I do. It's unlocking that leader's life force. Something inside of us moves, right? We can have an idea, we can think about stuff, but it requires an embodiment, something to break open and burst out of us to say, I'm actually going to go and do it. I'm going to go and do this. Just do it, as the Nike slogan says. Let's go, let's move. It's funny because for most of my life, I felt like a sloth. I had all of the ideas. I was very heady. I was a great imagination. I could see things. But there was so much holding back. I wasn't really being a leader. Being creative, having ideas, thinking stuff is one thing. That's a part of this whole equation of life mastery. We need that inner imagination, ideas, intelligence. But we also need to go and embody and use those things. Otherwise, it becomes these dreams that just die with us. These ideas that never happen. So these leaders I've actually interviewed or been with, let's say, in these podcast episodes, they're people that have actually done stuff. They get it. They have these similar mentalities. I've also broken down what are the challenges that they face being these leaders. There's always there's a dark side to everything, right? A lot of them are go 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 go. But then what they also love is they love to embody balance. All of them talked about it. How to slow that down, this thing of wanting to do stuff all the time. This fire in them. How do we slow that down? How do we become calmer? That's something all leaders need. That's what I realized. All leaders need to have some harmony, peace, and health. This is another thing that I found. Health is something that comes up for a lot of leaders where it's often neglected. What's going into the body? How is it being treated? Because the thing with leading, it can sometimes be like, let's do this, let's go this. And the body gets worn out in the process. It's like, let me use this flesh to make my life happen. And great, awesome. But the flesh can get overused. And the thing I found is with everything, like if you're overworking in the gym, you're doing constantly working out, it doesn't actually give results, right? It has an adverse effect. That's what I've realized. Anytime I want to do stuff and take action, it can have an adverse effect if I'm going for it too much. So that's also a part of being an effective leader, is to be able to look after all of the things that affect the leadership skills. It's like having a sword. How am I using the sword? Am I just waving it around everywhere? Okay, I might cut some things up, great. But what if I was using it precisely? If I was really becoming one with the sword? If I was centered, present, sharp, strong? So all the stuff to do with health, I've found anytime I'm coaching someone who is an entrepreneur or some kind of leader or wants to be a leader, wants to start a business, wants to do something, wants to be better in their career, is creative, whatever it is, they need to have all of these things in place, working effectively, right? To say, okay, this machine that I use, my body, has to be running clockwork, it has to be treated well. Because in the end, this is the thing that helps me do everything in life. I have to treat the machinery well, right? And I have to have a very poised way of operating. That's the thing I found with some of these leaders. They're sharp. The ones I interview, they're sharp. They're sharp and they listen to the intuition and they go for stuff. And that's the thing. That's what works, right? This dance. It's really a dance. So that's what's going to come up in this series. You're going to see me drop some of these episodes here and there, which will be called the Leader's Lifeforce. It's a subsection of this podcast, let's call it. I really, really enjoy it because I get to speak to people and we have a dialogue, I'm picking out all of the things that have helped them and picking it out so every one of you guys listening can learn, can really learn from these people. And I'm not saying they're the be all and end all experts of life. They're just sharing their story, right? And maybe you listen and you say, oh, cool. Oh, let me try that. Oh, that was cool to hear that person's story. Because there's so much enjoyment I find in us telling stories, sharing stories, listening to other stories. It's just fun, right? People have been doing this for centuries, sitting around a fire and telling stories, right? So it's kind of like this. That's really what I want to do when I'm talking to people, and when I'm doing even these episodes on my own, is just to share things as if we were around a fire. Share things that might be useful, and we just talk. It's as if we're talking. I'm talking to you, you're listening, and something moves through you, right? Maybe that life force sparks. Maybe there's some wisdom kicks in. Maybe your intuition says something. Maybe you take an action from it. Whatever. You get to choose. You're not in front of me. So you get to choose what you want to do with it. So anyway, Leader's Life Force. I found it really useful for myself to build these skills of leadership, which involves how do I use my time on this earth? How do I use my time for the things I want to create? How do I be a professional? How do I have fun? How do I look after my health at the same time? How do I listen to this unstoppable force, like one person said, and then take action off it? It's a beautiful thing to observe and to learn and to be better at, right? I don't honestly don't think that anyone is like born better than someone else. Okay, we have different conditions. We might, for me, for example, I was lucky. My grandfather, he moved from India. He took a boat to which he actually risked his life. That's what my dad told me, to get on this boat to cross into Africa and then again cross into the UK. And he was taking the lead. So, of course, I had better conditions to prosper in life. Thanking him, right? So, yeah, we do have advantages sometimes, but we all have the same opportunities with what do we do with what we're born with, right? And some of these guys, you'll hear their stories, and yeah, it wasn't easy. It's just stuff that they've just done what they could. One person said, "How do I turn my rocks into rocket fuel?" I love that. You know, another person was made bankrupt, and he turned it into $1 million business. He turned his life into $1 million business eventually. Let's say. Um, there's all sorts of adversities, things that we learn along the way through life, right? But leading, we have to lead because who else will lead for us? We got this. We got our life. We have support. Yeah, there's mentors, there's people that can help. It's helped me, of course. Um, but in the end, we have to take the lead, right? We have to go and say, okay, let's go. Let's do it. I'm going to do it. Or I'm not going to do it. That's another game as well, right? I'm not going to do this. I'm going to say no to this stuff. How do I choose things? Choose things and be on my team and go for things. And then how do I say no to things that I really don't want to do? Get away from people pleasing, you know? Because that's the other thing that comes up when we choose to lead our lives. This mind program comes in of, oh, this is how it should be, or this is what others are doing. How should it be? And the thing I found is we have to go beyond that to really maximize our potential. Because it's like if we were all trying to fit into some ideal, we'd just be these machines or robots, But if we say, hey, there's this thing I want to do, okay, I can learn from others that are doing it, that's useful, but I still have to be me in the process, right? To be me, I have to do it myself, I have to do it my way. I can learn from the best. Yes, that's important. I can learn what's worked. I can use my mind very precisely. I can even do the same actions as others, but I have to be authentic. I have to be myself and take the lead of my life where I want it to go, right? So, this excites me. Like I said, that's a little bit on leadership. I've shared some things that I've gotten from this so far. Some things that I know about leadership. I know that I need to keep my body in check because this is the tool I use. I know I got to listen to my heart, to my intuition, that power inside. I got to let that guide me. You might call it God, you might call it whatever, whatever, whatever. That thing inside, just that thing that will move me. It's like a compass, it's like a powerful thing. It's like a magnet as well at the same time, right? It's got all sorts of built-in tools. It's like one of those knives. What do you call it? Swiss Army knives. That's what's here inside my body. I've got all these tools. And then go and just take some actions, even if my mind and body are like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've learned that I have to just, that's just noise sometimes. Sometimes it's telling me things that are useful. Okay, I'll listen to it. It's useful, right? I don't want to just do wild and crazy things all the time. Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it's useful to listen to be a bit more strategic, right? But this unstoppable force, this thing wants to move me. So let's move it. Let's use my arms as levers. Let's move them around and do these actions based on what I know I want to do. And even if it's not like, hey, today or tomorrow it happens, if I just keep on going, resilience, discipline, discipline, going for stuff. It's not this kind of discipline where it's like I'm punishing myself. I love the word discipline. Some people are like, hey, Raj, I don't like that word discipline you use. I love it. It excites me. I love that. I love putting in work. I love doing stuff that lights me up, right? Things that I know are useful. If I'm enjoying things like my workouts, if I've created a workout where it's like this feels like it's in flow, I know what I'm doing, I know how it's useful, I'm having fun. I'm not punishing myself. So that's the discipline I mean. It's just consistent action. Consistent action. And that's the thing I always tell everyone is when you're designing your life, it doesn't have to be, oh, you do this because it says this thing in a textbook. Yeah, I've tried a lot of things that have been researched well with my health, with actions, with things. I have to feel it, right? It has to be, I have to embody it. I have to feel that flow inside of me. If I'm doing all this heady stuff, it doesn't really connect to me. I'm not feeling aligned, right? So that's the kind of discipline I mean, taking actions when it's like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'm involved. I'm on it. There's a buzz. There's a life force moving, right? The life force is moving through me and out of me. My body is moving with full life force. Yeah, sometimes I'm tired. Okay, I'm human. So are you. So are we. But there's still this life force I come back to and I want to bring you back to. It's the leader's life force. So let's leave it as that. Tell me what came up for you in this episode. I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear what leader's life force has done for you in the past. Where has it taken you? Where might it be wanting to take you next? And yeah, tell me. I really, really want to hear. Because I'm fascinated by this subject. And look out for when these episodes come out. They'll be coming soon, as they say in the trailers. Coming soon. Anyway, let's leave it as that. And hope you have a wonderful day. School is finished. Hope you learnt something. Hope you walk out of school with a smile on your face, like I used to sometimes. Even though I had challenges, I remember walking out sometimes feeling like, oh, that was a really good day. So I want that to be what these episodes are like. So, School of Life Force ends here. I'm Raj Garcia, and see you soon. Have a good one.